Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Beyond Ordinary podcast, where we connect with great people doing great things to inspire you to do the same. Got another banger episode. Always got to bring the Howard alum on here. We got Vernon Yancy in the building. How
What's
you doing
good? What's
today?
good? Top of the top. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great.
I know, in town for homecoming.
Oh, you already know.
Uh,
Well, double it though. We're in town for homecoming, but it's a lot of impact and service taking place at the same time. So,
okay, yeah, we definitely gonna get into that for shows. But you mind telling the people who you are and what you do first?
no, 100%. So, top of the top, everyone. Vernon Glenn Yancy. I gotta say my middle name, or else my dad will get on me. Born and raised L.A. Howard University graduate class of 2016, mechanical engineering major. Went on an amazing path that met me with entrepreneurship, and that's what ultimately led me to starting SOSS. And SOSS is a grooming product business, grooming product line, where our whole premise is to help our men feel better and embrace their best selves. Started with beards, then we went to top of the head hair, and then we went to skin care and body care, and we going to the moon. And not just SOSS, but then that also led us to go and figure out how we're gonna help the next generation. And then that's what came with LMP, I Am King, wrote a whole children's book. So that's a little bit about me and what I do.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna get into that.
I
So,
love
what
it.
made you? So, you started with beard hair care. How, like, what made you think, yeah, like this is something that I wanna get into?
No, in fact, I mean, that goes back to the story of even how I even came with the idea of even wanting to start a business. And what led me to start with beards was that while I was working after I graduated in DC, I was in corporate America. There was a stereotype that I believed that I needed to fit in order to be successful. Part of that stereotype is clean shaven, certain look, white collars, blue suits, navy suits, etc. And it was just I started to feel myself really starting to slip away from who I knew I organically was. And when I remember the day where I went into that, I was at the barbershop in the chair, and I was just like, you know what? Like, no more conforming. Like, no more trying to fit into this mold or try to fit into this picture that I think other people want me to be. And then that's what led me to look at my barber that day and say, like, nah, don't cut it. And then we just let it fly. And then after letting the beard grow, I needed to take care of it because I'm still at the end of the day, I'm a noob. I'm from the best fraternity there
Yeah.
is. So I gotta I still
Nah,
gotta
never
I still
that.
gotta look a certain way. I gotta hold it down. So, but when I was starting to look for products to use, there was just nothing in the market for me. I'm a black man. I have very sensitive skin. I have very thick hair. I needed something that was gonna keep my hair moisturized. I needed something that was gonna respect the skin underneath the beard. And there was nothing like that on the market. So then that's when I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna just do it myself and build it
Yep.
myself.
Create your own lane.
And that's how we got there.
So, when you were in corporate America, you were talking about conforming.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between, code switching and like absolutely conforming. Like, if you go into a corporate office or you're going to, meet the president, obviously you're going to, put on a suit. So was it the fact that you had to, I guess, dress up in a professional way, or were you just like, or did you feel yourself actually having to act different? Like, what part were you like conforming to?
I feel like I was starting to act different.
Okay.
And I also just want to also give that caveat that no one was telling me, hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need
Yeah.
to talk like this. You need to look like this. It was
Felt the
literally
pressure.
I was putting on myself.
Yeah.
And that pressure that I was putting on myself made me believe like, hey, I was telling myself, you can't be you in these environments because you are not enough for these environments, for these people to stay in this seat at this table. That was what I needed to dissolve in my mind. That was what I needed to break through. That initial breakthrough for me was from the beard and allowed me to really just start to spend more time in the mirror looking at myself because now I got to, massage and keep it right. So even going through that routine on a daily basis, spending more time just staring yourself in the eyes, that just has you start to look at yourself in a different light and start realizing like, okay, is it the corporation that's telling me to be like this, or is it myself telling me to be like this? No one's ever pulled me aside and said, hey, make sure you only act like this, dress like this. Then why am I telling myself like, hey, stopping myself, probably blocking my own blessings from just being who I authentically am? So I think that's when I look at how I was conforming in corporate, it was really like self-inflicted. And it was like, okay, you need to break out of this and fit and realign with who you are because that's what's gonna have the best, greatest impact on your current job, on this corporation.
Yeah, and unfortunately, corporate has, especially no, you said you were in engineering. I thought you were in school with B, but I was in school.
Everybody thinks that.
Yeah, I really
Everybody
thought you were in
thinks that.
school with B because, like, I was doing my research, and so when I went to your bio and it said engineering, I'm like, what? He said engineering at Howard?
Yeah, yeah.
Because, no offense, the engineering students got a certain look.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I
So
know.
it's like,
Hey,
you feel me?
we are very established, very esteemed, very knowledgeable individuals.
Absolutely.
I think
Couldn't be
that's
me, though.
so I don't like taking the easy what is it, the path of least resistance. I remember my football coach told me that back in high school.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like taking the path of least resistance. And when it came time to choose the majors, I mean, both of my parents, shout out to them, they both have engineering foundations as their bachelor degrees. So I was already exposed to it. And then it was like when I started to talk about it to other people, I remember I told my high school counselor I wanted to major in engineering. And he advised that I picked a easier major. So once I got at that's all I needed to be like, okay, bet, I'm going to graduate. I'm going to get an engineering degree. I'm going to do it in 4.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of my time at Howard, I was like, I think I could get honors too.
Yeah.
Why not? Let's push for it. Let's go for it.
Okay.
So being able to do it in 4, graduate with cum laude honors, I just was like, okay, I'm gonna push myself.
Yeah.
And as most people thought I was school of B, because I was always with y'all. I was always partying with y'all. Like,
exactly.
We was always going up, but I found a way to make it happen and to balance it.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing.
Exactly, that time management. But back to the corporate, about having to, conform to corporate, I recently found myself kind of doing something similar. So I've been doing like a podcast. I started my own business and stuff. And how there's always that, taboo topic of you're not supposed to tell people like about your moves and stuff.
Thanks.
And so I remember, I like my LinkedIn's like not up to date at all with anything I've done in corporate. And I remember one day I've been on the same project for like, I think 2 years, and like a year in, like my supervisor, he added me on LinkedIn. And I was like, not adding you back.
Oh.
I did not add him back. But then he eventually left. Like he left the company altogether. So I was like, all right, well, I don't care anymore. So I added him. And then I just recently just saw like that now that I started like podcasting and stuff like that and seeing the other like podcasters, podcast network owners and stuff like that on LinkedIn, I was like, bro, like let me not be scared that somebody from my job is going to see this. Like at the end of the day, if they see this, they got something to say, I'll deal with it then. So I started leveraging my LinkedIn, and I've only been doing it for I think a week and a half. And anybody, I was in school B, so I have like hella people on LinkedIn. Anybody that got Howard, I automatically connect, and I started posting my podcast clips over there. And there's woman that I don't even remember speaking to her at Howard, but I saw her bio. She looked kind of familiar. She was like, hey, Myles, you should probably interview so-and-so. And it was a great conversation about AI, funnels, how to build a business, and all that stuff. So I said, you know what? I'm going to leverage my LinkedIn. I don't care what
Step
corporate
all
guys say.
into it, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to be 100%, 10 toes on it.
Absolutely.
And you really got to wear it on your chest. Is there anybody within in your corporate circle that you feel you could be vulnerable, transparent about your moves with?
The only people are the people in my fraternity. That's it. Especially because I graduated in 2020, right? So I came into the corporate scene when like everything was online, and it's still, or at least at Accenture, everything is online. So I don't even know what the majority of these people look like, because you don't got to have a picture. I don't have a picture. They don't got a picture. So only like the people like in my fraternity and maybe that I talk to, and then there are some people. Like, it's funny, whenever I go to a happy hour and all the black people kind of click up and stuff like that. So it's like, I'll talk to them about it. I told them about the podcast, but like everybody else, it's like, nah, like I ain't, doesn't, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. I couldn't hide from mine.
Really?
My beard started to get like this long. Like I couldn't hide.
Did anybody look at you crazy in the office for having a beard once you started growing it out?
Oh yeah. People was, because I started getting the question, and to me, it was a very passive way to address the situation. I would start getting the question of, hey, how long are you going to let it go? How long are you going to let it go? Okay. And I was just like, I don't know. We'll see. Like, I don't know. We'll see. And I started getting that question from different people. And then there was one setting where I did go to a dinner with leaders and one of my peers. And they asked the same question, and then they started offering potential suggestions of things that I can do to manage it a little better.
What?
At that time, I'm gonna be honest though, I went for like my beard was long. It was long, and it was just, I guarantee you, something very different from that environment had ever seen. But when I sat down at that dinner, and they started providing those suggestions to me, that's when I knew I was like, okay, I got something. There's some people a little uncomfortable right now. Like, but it's like, I love the quote that Nip said in one of his interviews that he heard from somewhere else. He was like, would you rather be at peace with the world and at war with yourself, or at war with the world and at peace with yourself? That to me was just like a moment right there of just like, this is my opportunity to choose. Am I going to be at peace with the world or at war with myself? Or am I going to choose myself and just be at peace with who I am? And anybody that want to go toe to toe, let's go.
Absolutely. Let's take it back to the stomping grounds at Howard, man. Like, how did Howard play a role in your entrepreneurial journey?
And I tell people that was the second best decision of my life after choosing Jesus.
Oh, okay, okay.
After my faith, choosing Howard, second best decision. And oh man, whew, that was just such a defining environment. And it was just great to be around. I heard this the other day too, and somebody broke it down beautifully. Stepping on the foot at Howard University, you're around all the main characters from their local cities, from their local high schools, from their suburbs, from their neighborhoods, all of that.
From the world. Some people are international.
From the world, exactly. Yeah. Countries sometimes, like, you're around all main characters. So you put all main characters into the same movie. Nah, somebody has to be Robert Downey Jr. Somebody has to rise to the top. Somebody has to be the main focus. And the beautiful thing about Howard is that everyone, even as everyone is embracing their main character energy, everyone is still trying to find out, okay, who's going to be the main character? And that's in whatever field you in, whether you're in the engineering school, School of B, whether you're an entrepreneur or where you're trying to become an actress. Like, everyone is pushing. Everyone comes in at such a pedigree and then is pushing to get higher and higher. So when you surround yourself with that type of energy, like, to me, it forces you to push yourself. It forces you to take your limits, take the expectations, and it's like, I got to go even higher. Like, my expectation was just, my parents just wanted me to graduate. They wasn't really tripping on do it in 4. They wasn't tripping on cum laude. It wasn't until I got around. I remember after first semester, you get around everybody like, oh, how was your first semester? All the women usually like, oh, I got a 3.8, 4.0, 3.6. All the homies, 2.8, 2.7, 2.5. Yeah. And it's just like, yo, that pushes you like, wait a second, y'all was partying with us, but y'all there? Like, okay, no. Like, no excuses. I have to go further. And even like you said, like, I was an engineering student, but I still was out and about just all over campus with everybody. But when I go into the engineering building and I still get a test back, it doesn't matter if, like, oh, I get a B on an exam. Somebody in another school may be like, oh, that's great, good job. Yeah. But in the engineering school, in my class, I had some really geniuses in my class. Everybody else got A's. They looking at me, I'm like, no. I'm competing with y'all. Yeah. I need an A. So it was just like the thing about Howard, I know that's a long-winded answer. I love Howard. I get passionate about it.
Of course.
But Howard really pushes you to go past your limits and to literally be the greatest and best that you can be. And it's the community, it's the family aspect. So it's not just you got to do it in a silo or you have to do it alone. It's a helpful competition of like, yo, I just figured out how to do this or I just figured out how to work out this formula. Here, I'm going to send you my notes so you could practice it. We have an exam next week. Okay, cool. Like, hey, I just talked to this person. They hooked me up with this individual that's over this grant program. I know you got a business too. Here, let's set up a meeting with this person together so they can tell us both at the same time, how do we take advantage of this capital? Like, that's how Howard is. It's like, yo, we're all competing to the top, but traditionally no one's like kicking somebody in the face to try to get on top of them. That hasn't been my experience, at least.
Facts. Me either. It hasn't been my experience either. So it sounds like, just being at Howard and being around so much Black excellence, it really just pushed you to be your best self. So once you stepped into the corporate world and you found yourself, you wasn't doing that. You was trying to conform to like what they were trying to push on you in corporate, and then you decided that, enough is enough at a certain point.
100%. It's like, you just have to go back to that mindset of how I was on campus. It's like, yo, bro, like, this ain't even you. You know who you are. Like, get back to it. Mm-hmm. And then look at us today.
Absolutely.
Had to switch that mindset, and now we're here.
All right, so let's go into like product development. So you came up with the idea for SOSS, how did you go about actually making the product and also making sure that it actually was a good product, and did what it's supposed to do?
Oh yeah, man, that was a experience in itself. The first trial runs of Sauce was literally like talking to my barber at the time in D.C. like, cause he had a crazy beard. Just like, what do you use in yours? And he was like giving me these different like ingredients that I should look into: the shea butter, cocoa butter, vitamin E oils, all of that type of stuff. And then he told me a spot to go to that had all the ingredients. So I went into this spot. It was owned by like this black woman. It was on it was actually right by Howard on Florida. I gotta see if it's still there. Like right off and going down Georgia, you could either make a right on you or make a left on Florida.
Yeah.
It was you make that left. It was like 2-3 spots from Half Smoke. I don't remember the name of it.
Okay.
But I walked in there, black lady was there, black woman was there, and I just told her what I was looking to do. And she just started educating me on like the benefits of shea butter, cocoa butter, mango butter, the vitamin E oils, the black soap. She's the one that put me on the black soap. So literally I just go and I'm like, okay, spending my whole salary there to just buy ingredients, take them back to the house,
And then just experiment.
and just start okay, let's just try a little bit of this. Let's try a little bit of this. Let's mix this up and just try it. And it literally just kept me going and going and going. And then I just found a solution. I was like, okay, I kind of rock with this.
Right.
And then I just started doing it I started using it. And then I started getting the compliments. I started getting the recognition. I started to get yo, what you use? Like, your beard is shining right now. Yo, at the time, different people that would get close to me, they would be like, yo, like, your beard smells amazing. Like, what is that? Like, and that's when I knew. I was like, all right, I think we got it. So that was the process it took. There was also a whole lot of Googling within that.
Yeah, of
There's
course.
a whole lot of research. There's a whole lot of learning the FDA rules, learning the laws around cosmetics in terms of when you go to sell a product, what you can and can't do, what you can and can't say on a label. There was a lot of that. But in the initial beginning, it literally was just like, yo, like,
Trial and error.
just try it. Try it. You swear you got to start somewhere. So, and that's how it was for me. I also like to get my hands dirty. So I could have just called up a white label company and just got their product and just put in my own branding on it and just had to worry about marketing. I could have did that.
Yeah, you could have, but it wouldn't
I
have
was
been
just
authentic
like-
to you though.
Exactly. I was just like, nah, because anybody else could do that. And I want something that's literally authentically, organically me, confidently me, something that's a representation of me. And for me, I am a completely unique individual. There's not another like me out here.
Yeah.
So why would I go and start a product line that's copy paste of a million other products that are already there? So, yeah.
Absolutely. It's like if you copy and paste and you white label, that just shows that the barrier to entry is so low that like anybody could do it,
100%.
and they're just gonna undercut you in price. That's basically it.
100%.
So
And I'm not gonna hate on nobody that may choose that route. If that's the route for you, that's amazing. Me as an engineer and a control freak, I was like, nah, I gotta touch it.
So I know you have a co-founder,
do.
right? Yeah. So tell me about how you guys met. What made you want to bring him on as a co-founder, or how he?
Man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, shout out to the most notable, most esteemed, most valued Jeremiah Regis. So that's my co-founder. It's funny how we met. All right, this is story time.
Story time. Let's do it.
So my co-founder is anyone that has seen us together. We favor each other in terms of appearance. So back at Howard, I remember one day I was in the engineering building and somebody walks up to me and was like, Vernon, weren't you just on the yard? I was like, nah, like I've been in here all day. Like, what's up? And they were like, I swear, I just talked to you on the yard. I was like, nah. And then I remember she was like, well, you have a twin that's walking around campus look just like you. I never thought anything of it.
Yeah.
And then one night, we were having a party. I'm working the door. The Noops was having a party.
Yeah.
And then he walks up to the door. He's a Noop as well from Norfolk State. He walks up to the door and we just looked at each other and started laughing. He was like, you must be Vernon. And I was like, you must be my twin.
That's crazy.
And that's how we literally first met on campus at Howard. So then after that, obviously we just stayed in contact from afar. We wasn't like talking every day like best friends.
Yeah.
But it was just like, mutual respect for the paths that each of us were on. When I launched the product, again, he has a beard too. So he was like the top supporter I think he still may be the number one on the leaderboard in terms of customers purchasing.
Yeah.
But he was a big supporter up front. We got to a point in the business after we officially launched it on October 4th, 2020, was just like, yo, I need help. I need someone that understands marketing. I need someone that understands sales strategy. I need someone that understands advertising and someone that's passionate about this as well to come help me do this and push it further.
Bring some skills to the table.
Every I literally had to go through and look at everywhere where I lacked. And shout out to also my homegirl, great friend, great sister, Tiana. She was helping me get through our initial launch. And she's the one that was like, yo, I don't think I could get you further than this. You need to find someone that can help you in these areas.
That's real. So she told you that.
I was so thankful for her even being that honest and transparent with me, because then it forced me to become vulnerable with myself. And then that had me sit there and look like, okay, like what do I need? Who has this? And it was like a no-brainer, like, yo, Jeremiah. So went to him. He didn't want to come on at first. I was like, gee.
Why?
Because he was, and he got to tell his side of the story.
Facts.
But he was just like, he wanted to be a consultant. I was like, nah, bro, I need you hands-on, 10 toes. I need you in the trenches with me. And then after a few probably annoying phone calls, he finally gave in and was like, you know what, let's do it. And I mean, ever since he's joined the team, you just saw the path, you know, our especially our path of growth. Just that slant got a lot more steeper. It got a lot steeper. Our system started to get more refined. We became more efficient. Now, it hasn't been, you know, dandelions. Like, at the end of the day, we're brothers. And how brothers are, brothers is going to not always agree. He's not a yes man. I'm not his yes man.
Yeah.
So naturally, that's going to also just, you know, cause the need or make room for real conversations that have to happen. Pride's got to be checked. My pride a lot has to be checked. It's a lot of things that has to be checked to make it work. But at the end of the day, we remember at the root of us as brothers. And then that's what makes sure that we continue to move forward. And I will rewind, I did leave this important part out. What brought us back to getting even closer outside of him supporting the business just on his own, during the pandemic, me, him, my line brother Will Harris, and then his brother Josh, we all started a weekly prayer call just to check in on dudes, because, like, you know, people was battling a lot of things during COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
During 2020. So people battling a lot of things mentally, emotionally, physically. So we started that weekly prayer call just to check in on each other. And it was in that prayer call, like, we started to really, really get to learn each other. Like, I got to learn who Jeremiah is, what he values, what he's committed to, his morals, his ethics, etc. He got to learn me as well. That brought us super close together and made that decision, again, even more no-brainer, because it's like, yo, God brought you to me. Mm-hmm. You've already showed the passion. You already aligned here. Oh, we got this. This is a no-brainer. Let's do it. So, hey, that's my guy. That's the co-founder of SOSS.
Absolutely. Shout out Jeremiah, man.
Shout out Jeremiah, Mr. Regis.
Hey, man. So, in terms of marketing the product, how, like, you said that you were working with, I forgot her name, but you said she couldn't get you to a certain level.
Tiana,
Tiana. So, when he came on, what was he doing, like, to get you guys to that next level? Like, what was he doing day to day?
He was able to be a carbon copy of me in another location.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, me and Tiana both lived in LA. It's one thing for me to walk up to somebody and say, hey, you should probably rock with SOSS. We can take your beer to the next level. You look at me, it's a little more like, okay, like, I can believe that.
Yeah.
A woman doing it, it may not have the same impact and may not have the same pedigree.
Yeah.
Now, Tiana was able to do a lot of great sales for us. Mm-hmm. You know, she has a way to sell. She knows how to sell.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
But I think it was just also being a carbon copy of me, being able to have conversations when I'm not present. And then also he was able to bring in an aesthetic. He was able to bring in the energy. He was able to take the vibe that we had already set up and just amplify it, just based on his own personal character, his own personal characteristics, how he just naturally is. So he was able to look at, like, okay, I see how you've been pushing the brand to date, how you and Tiana were able to build it to date. You've built something amazing and strong, a solid foundation. Let me go in and finish putting some of the beams up on the home. Let me go in and paint some things, do some furniture, just to make the house, one, immovable, and now inviting to the community that we're attracting. So that's how he was able to approach the marketing aspect of it.
Cool. So You started in 2020. Let's talk about like how challenging was it to start a product during the pandemic?
Oh man, that was fun. To get to 2020, you have to go back to 2019.
Of course.
So December 2019, or November technically 2019, I made the decision to quit my full-time job, move
Okay.
back to my parents' basement in LA, and do SOSS full-time.
Okay.
I had this whole grandiose plan that starting January 1, 2020, I'll be back in the basement, and within 6 months, I was going to be off to the races, millionaire, doing everything that every dream achieved, right?
Yeah.
But then January, you start hearing remnants of something happening that's taking out the world. I didn't listen to it. I was like, we got this. And then February it starts getting a little louder. But what registered with me was that like my initial person that was gonna help me with our designs and marketing and content, he was like, "Yo, bro, like all of my models are quitting on me. Like all of the studios are shutting down. Like I'm trying to get content that we agreed to, but." I can't access anybody. Like everybody's scared of whatever this thing is that's going on. I was like, okay, all right, whatever. And then I get on the phone with my suppliers and I'm like, okay, I need this. They're like, yo, the wait time is probably going to increase a little bit. I was like, okay, like not 14 days. Like how long we thinking? Like 21 days? They were like, well, we really can't even give you a time because we're shutting down our warehouses until this whole situation is figured out.
Right.
And then that's when I was like, hold up. What is going on? So I think getting over that first hurdle of the pandemic was that was just the biggest unknown. And for me, because we weren't able to push things out within those first, 3 months of the pandemic, what I realized was that there was also some things I needed to realize within myself and work on myself before I went and pushed this brand to the next level. So I really took advantage of those first 2 to 3 months and just sat down and was like, okay, bro, like you really say you want to do this. What's it gonna take? What do we need to do? What about you needs to change? What about you? In what ways you still need to heal, etc. Before you even get started on this path. So I was thankful for those first 2 to 3 months. But then after that, once everybody understood what it was, things started opening up. Then we was able to, work with longer timelines. But that just forced us to be very impeccable with our planning and then very creative at the same time. So, and then because everybody else was kind of chilling, sitting down, that allowed me to leverage a lot of people. Like I tapped a lot of people to help with the launch. I tapped, homies like, yo, you got a camera. Like, yo, can you do our product photography? Yo, hey, can you style this for me? Hey, can you do this video for me? And people wasn't doing much. They were like, sure, why not? I got all the time in the world.
Exactly.
So that also benefited us as well. But yeah, because we weren't able to go out a lot, it really, I think, forced me and forced the team and everyone that helped us. It pushed us to be even more creative because now it's like, at the time, the normal ways that you would launch a business and do all that, you couldn't. So you had to stop and think like, okay, how do we do this now? And then I think that was, to me, I kind of saw it as a benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the pandemic was a blessing and a curse. Unfortunately, like a lot of people had to pass away, and I'm fortunate that none of my loved ones passed away, but being able to take that time to step back and reflect and get a game plan going. Unfortunately, that was the year I graduated from Howard.
Right? How was the
Bro? It was. When I tell you, that was one of the lowest lows because I pledged as a senior too. So yeah, so I was online during the pandemic. So I like you said, it was chatter about pandemic. I'm like, I don't even know about that. One of my line brothers actually got COVID while we were online, but like I was like, oh, okay, well, whatever, COVID. And then I remember it was March 2020, and we finished doing what we had to do. I was like, all right, probate is like 15 days away, whatever. We're gonna go to ASB. It's gonna be fine. And then I'm gonna be done. I'm gonna be great. Like I'm gonna have 2 months on campus. I can't wait to see everybody. It's gonna be great. And it was like, hey everybody, like I know it's spring break, but y'all gotta come back and get y'all stuff and like get off campus. Like it's just gonna be like for like a couple weeks or something like that. Next day came back, they was like, nah, we're gonna push it back till like May. Like everybody just leave, but y'all still go get graduation. Next day comes around, they're like, all right, never mind, just get off campus and we don't know when you guys are gonna return. And so I packed up all my stuff. And at the time, unfortunately, I was in school at B, and not that I was unfortunate to be in school at B, but I was in school at B and I didn't have a job lined up. So when they put everybody off campus, I just had all my stuff, and I'm like, well, and I knew I wanted to be in DC after I graduated, so I took all my stuff and I put it in a storage unit, not knowing when I was gonna come back for it.
Wow.
So I was just like, I just got to
Wow.
make it happen. And then I flew back to Cali, and they did a graduation, which was just a slideshow. I just remember having it up, and then my picture that I sent in flashed for like 2-3 seconds. Next person, my parents clapped, and that was it. That was graduation, bro.
That's so
And
sad. I'm so sorry.
yeah, and there's still people to this day that like I like have not seen like since that stuff. So like I'll be at either homecoming, or I went to the celebration football game last year, and I saw a lot of people that I hadn't seen since that time, and it's like, oh my God, like, you know what I'm saying, like, because we haven't seen each other in like
Wow.
4 years, 5 years. So yeah, 20. It was definitely it was a crazy time, but I will say that again, that was like the sucky part, but the part that I was glad to have is the fact that because I stepped in the corporate world, I was able to work a remote job, still to this day be remote and be really flexible. There's no way that everything that I'm doing now would be achievable if they told me, hey, you have to go to the office 9 to 5 every single day. You know what I mean? So
That part.
I'm grateful for that part, for sure.
That part. I didn't. Hey, getting that text of, hey, you got to move out the dorm. We don't know when you're coming back, especially as a senior. Like,
As a senior, bro.
I felt bad. I really felt bad when I found out that like all the universities were going like fully remote online classes, because it was just like, and this kind of goes back to the Howard thing. Like a big aspect of Howard is the community, the interactions, the engagements. It's not what happens in the classroom. It's really what happens on the yard when you just randomly walking past somebody or randomly pop up to the caf to soul food therapy. Like, it's that aspect that makes Howard Howard. So when I found out that y'all were all like 100% remote online, I was just like, damn.
Yeah, thankfully I only had to do it for like a month or
I was gonna
a
say,
month
because you
and a
was
half.
already on your way out.
Yeah, I was on my way out, and so like it wasn't too bad, but like I'm very glad that I didn't have to spend that year taking like 5-6 classes online.
Oh, yeah.
Nah, bro, like nah. Like my professors kind of just, we were seniors, they kind of gave up. They was like,
It was
all right,
like,
yeah, it was like, all
man.
right, whatever. Like yeah, so. I mean, it is what it is, and it's crazy to think that the pandemic, we coming up on like what? That's gonna be like 4 or 5 years ago. I don't even feel like it was that long ago, bro. Like,
Yeah, about to be 5 this March. I remember that. I was at Trader Joe's running around trying to get all the food and stuff. Mm-hmm. I do. One thing about the pandemic, though, man, that brought whoever my loved ones that got separated from just being in DC for so long. Like, I really was like, yo, that was God telling me to move back when I did. I didn't know the pandemic was about to happen. But like, I may have talked to, like, when I lived out here, I may have talked to my parents like once every 2 weeks, maybe every 3 weeks. Like, I was starting to get very separated from my family because I was just in DC focused on trying to do what I got to do here.
Exactly. Yeah. Facts.
So moving back home, moving back into their home, and then now pandemic hits and we're forced to be with each other 24/7. I was so thankful for that opportunity to spend that amount of time with my parents as, we're all getting older, because it really like brought us back and allowed us to repair some things that kind of just like some cracks that had just developed in the relationship just because of distance and just because of space. So, man, that pandemic, it was definitely bittersweet. Unfortunately, the impact that it had on lives was just not ideal at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thankful for being able to spend that time with my parents, spend that time with the people I love, and then also be able to, go after this dream full force.
All right. On. In terms of now that you are 4 years in, like what's been the most rewarding part of the journey so far?
It's the customers. It's the community. It's the SOSS champions, we call them.
SOSS champions.
SOSS champions.
That's funny.
It's the men that reach out to us and they're like, yo, like, thank you so much. I use this products every day. I feel more prepared to take on the day, to take on my challenges. Like, I just thank you. I need this in my routine. Um, it's the women that are reaching out like, yo, I see a change in my man. I'm so thankful. Thank you. I see a change in my son, because some mothers buy it for their sons that are on their beard care routines and like gift it to them. And it's like getting the sentiment from our champions, from our community. To me, that's has been the most rewarding. And then also just from a business aspect, when different people come up to me and they're like, man, you made it 4 years. Like, seeing you keeping this going has been very inspiring. You know, I'm going through it. I got gray hairs. I plucked them all out so they wouldn't be on the camera today.
That's funny.
I got all these gray hairs. I'm over here stressing, bags under my eyes. Like, I'm just like, and people come up like, man, your journey has been so inspiring. You're still doing this for 4 years. I'm just like, wow,
4 years, man.
I'm happy whenever I'm able to, you know, inspire somebody else, motivate somebody else, whether that's through the product or whether that's just through my journey. I love that aspect. So I think that's been the most rewarding, has been the impact been able to have on the community, on our champions. Like, that's the most rewarding. There's a lot of other things that I love too. I love the aspect of just, you know, generational wealth. I love the aspect of challenging myself on a regular basis. But the most rewarding, I love the aspect of learning how to work with others and build teams and pull people together to accomplish the similar goal. But the most rewarding is when we get the sentiments from customers and they're just, you know, in love with how we have made them feel. That's the most rewarding.
Yeah, customer satisfaction. It's definitely
100%.
knowing that your service, your product or service is actually benefiting somebody. Always the best.
It's impactful, right?
Absolutely.
You want to make impact. And even low key, another most rewarding, just thinking about what we just did yesterday, impact that we're able to have. Fly out to Howard, tell all the freshman males, hey, give us 25 freshman men. We're going to give you free haircuts to get you right for homecoming week. Like, here's a grooming starter kit so you can start to learn how to, you know, moisturize your own hair, moisturize your body. Here's some fragrances that you could, you know, start to experiment with how you smell goods. Like, that, even just an impact standpoint, like, that's rewarding as well. But yeah. What's been the most rewarding thing that you have realized from doing this?
Going into a lot of episodes, I've been trying to be a lot more intentional in making sure that people take something away from the episode. They either, you know, inspiration or a how-to, and I'm like actually delivering value, because someone's attention is one of the most valuable things that they can have, because if they spend their attention and time on it, they're not going to get that time back. And I don't want to waste anybody's time. So being able to bring on guests and actually have meaningful conversations, valuable conversations that could lead to impacting people's lives. Like, I've had stock traders on, I've had professional poker players on, just people in different aspects, and trying to ask them the right questions to pull out the value from them to give to my audience, and I ask them to help promote, and their audience comes. And we were just talking about customer satisfaction. It's just awesome whenever somebody like tells me like, oh yeah, I listened to like your episode. And there's always people that I don't even think of, like, cause I have like a business Instagram, and it's not, I just started it, so it's not that big. I see how many people be on there, and one of my profiles yesterday, I was talking to him. He's like, oh yeah, like I was watching that episode. I mainly watched. I'm like, you watch my podcast? It's crazy. Like, people that I don't know. I remember I went to El Rey one time, and one of the Zetas and EOs was there. Didn't even know their name. They came up to me like, "Oh yeah, you're the person with the podcast." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." I'm really like happy that people like are taking the time, that they could be scrolling on TikTok, they could be on Instagram, they could be doing anything else, but they decided that they wanted to support the podcast and get something out of it. And so that's been pretty rewarding for sure.
I love that. I love how you're telling our stories. And I remember, I don't know who said it, but they were like, tell your story before they do. Mm-hmm. We don't have to name who they is, and that just really captured me. And when I was going through the podcast, doing my research on you as well, it was just like, yo, I love the different stories that you tell and the angle that you have these conversations, because you could tell they're really focused on impact, extracting value. What information, what game can this individual provide my listeners, my community that I'm building and developing, to help shorten their learning curve for whatever it is that they're looking to achieve in life. So I appreciate you and thank you because this is needed. This is helpful. We need
Thank
this
you.
type of exposure and content.
Absolutely. That's why I do it. And what you just said about impact is something that I recently realized probably like a week or two ago that I think that as human beings, every single person definitely wants to leave an impact. It just looks different in every aspect.
100%.
Like I know one of my Zeta sorors, she's running for some pageant like in Maryland or something like that. That's how she has a platform. She's really passionate about dance, and so she's going. That's how she wants to do her impact. But your impact is going to be through your beard care and your products. Mine is through like everybody's trying to achieve a similar goal. It's just it looks differently, and that's why I want to bring people on and show that somebody like everybody's pretty much the same. Like we're all human beings, and we have
Exactly.
and trying to look out for one another. It just looks differently.
It looks differently 100%. Hey, 100%. I can't even add anything to that. 100%.
Absolutely. But man, one thing in terms of my podcast, I like to do, I like to keep it real and keep it raw. Like I don't want to bring people on to just talk about, oh my God, I'm so damn successful. So it's like, in terms of your beard care line, what was some of the struggles that you went to? I know you talked about in terms of COVID, but I mean it's been 4 years, and COVID was
Oh,
4 years
man.
ago. So I'm sure there's more to the story.
Oh man, so many struggles. I think when you asked that question, the first thing that popped into my head was I remember I went to Vegas. I'm still at this point, still in the basement. I think this is like maybe 2020, maybe 2021. I can't remember exactly when, but I remember my friends was like, "Hey, you've been working too hard. Like, come pick your head up. Let's do a quick trip to Vegas." Like, you know what? F it. Why not? But I was like, because I know I'm gonna have orders to fulfill when I get back, I'm gonna pre-make all the product before I leave, so that when I get back, all I gotta do is jar it up and be out. So try to make it a little easier on me. I go to Vegas, come back from Vegas, walk into the basement. I've never seen so many ants in my life. The ants have somehow found, and I mean, it was thousands of dollars in resale value of the product that I had made before I left.
They were
to
going after
just
the
bag it.
product?
They have got into each and every container,
Why?
everything.
Is it the mango butter or something? Like what
I
would
mean,
it?
again, so that goes to the highlight our products. Everything, every ingredient in our product is all natural.
Right.
At that time, we were using cocoa butter, very sweet, beautiful smelling.
Okay.
Oh my god, cocoa butter, coconut oil, sweet almond oil. You got the castor oil. I think it was just the aroma of the products. Some of the essential oils we were using, I think that's what attracted them, and they sniffed it out, and they just consent. I can't even think of the right word, but they just went in and just tore them up. So
Yeah.
$1,000 of product. I get back from Vegas thinking I'm okay. I just broke the system. Like I'm gonna be super efficient. I had to throw everything away and start over. That right there was like one that showed me that I really want this shit. Excuse me, can we curse? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
That showed me I
No,
really
sure.
want it, cause it wasn't like I was excited to do it again.
Right.
Because I was like, bet, some adversity, let's get it. And I stayed up for like that whole entire night and all day the next day. I don't think I went to sleep until like the next day at like 4 or something in the morning, just remaking everything. But I was like, me getting through over that, I was like, yo, like, okay, you really want this. Like, okay, let's keep this going. So that was one thing. I think another adversity is always, especially when you talk to business owners, capital. Capital was a adversity, something to get over in the beginning, and it's still something to get over to today.
Really?
The thing about being in a product-based business, you need
Startup capital.
startup capital.
But before you go further, in 2020, the interest rates was zero. So did you take advantage and get that PPP or whatever to help you out?
I got an EIDL loan
Okay.
through the
I don't even know
small
what that is.
business, so through the SBA.
Okay.
I got an EIDL loan through them. I did not get accepted for the PPP because I had just started the business, so I didn't have any paperwork. I also didn't have the official tax documentation, but I already had like the official, okay, you're a recognized corporation. Unfortunately, and this was a learning lesson for myself, I tried to, do the documents myself. I didn't want to ask anybody for help, so I got denied for the PPP. The EIDL loan I received was able to sustain us, and not only sustain us, but really propel us.
Yeah.
In the beginning, we were able to win. I think we were in 2 or 3 different grant programs within like the first 2 years. So that not only gave us some extra capital, but gave us a whole lot of game that we needed, because the beauty space. That's such a I
That's
didn't
competitive,
know
man.
anything about the beauty
Yeah.
space, so they was really busting it down in language that I could understand, and highlighted things that it's like, oh wait, like I actually needed to hear this and need to learn this. So the capital aspect, wasn't able to take advantage of the PPP, but there was a loan opportunity that we were able to take advantage of, and there was also some community initiatives. Shout out to Grid 110. Shout out to LISC. Shout out to I gotta make sure I get everybody. Ultimately,
ahead.
Glossier held it really down for us. Shout out to them for that entire program. Quinta, we love you. Action. There's so many different community initiatives that we were able to take advantage of to sustain capital. But in a product-based business, it's constantly capital intensive, right? You have to not only, build out your website, you got to build the product. Building the product itself, there's so many stages, because you got to come out with the samples. Then you need to test the product to make sure that it's going to be able to sit on a shelf. Then you got to package the product. You can't just go buy 20 jars. You got to buy quite a few jars.
Yeah.
And then you got to buy labels and tops and boxes and cushioning, everything. That when you think about that order getting to your arriving at your mailbox, there's so many components in that one box. Everything has to be procured.
Right.
So it's a very capital intensive space. And then when you get to the point where your demand is starting to grow and you scale, I wasn't able to keep up with the demand, making it myself or having my cousin, shout out Kamar, come help me try to make it. We weren't able to keep up with the demand. So we had to bounce it out and go to a manufacturing facility.
Yeah.
When you go to them, for us, we could make 100 at a time just to fill the demand of the day and come back tomorrow.
They trying to get thousands. So
Your minimum order quantity is 1,000 units.
Yeah.
So that's 1,000 units per SKU, not just total order size, but per SKU. So now you got to put more capital down up front while still maintaining your business, your marketing, your ads. You got to pay your team. It's very capital intensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
God has been sustaining us to date, though, so we're continuing to keep it going. But yeah, so but capital, it forces you to also get creative, though. It forces you to get creative. I'm constantly talking to other business owners, like, hey, how can we expand in this way? How do we take advantage of this type of capital source, this funding? Had a whole brainstorm last night till 2 a.m. My line brother and our other frat brother is just providing their insights of how we can leverage different capital resources to get us to this next level and through this next level. So constantly having conversations to explore it. But yeah, capital was definitely something to focus on. The product is something to focus on. Supply chain itself, it's been very, it's been just, try it, see how it goes, learn from it. The first time we outsourced our manufacturing, the initial product was okay, but there was something they missed in the testing aspect that had an adverse effect on the product. The product still was impactful, it still worked. The presentation of it just wasn't
Like the labeling?
No, the actual presentation of the product.
Okay.
It was more, it had crystallized. So right now, as you open your jar, it's gonna be super smooth, buttery. You put it, it's gonna melt in your palms. You put it in your beer, you're good to go. You're gonna get the sparkle, the shine, the moisture, the nourishment, and you out. Yeah. That product, there was a step that was missed in the development of it, so that when it got in very, very hot environments, it started to crystallize. It would melt and crystallize. And crystallize means it will form into very tiny, hard balls. So what you had to do, and then it wasn't like butter when you would scoop it out. You had to emulsify it a little longer in your hands before you're using it. So it just impacted the experience. But that was something that, okay, we had to learn. Like, all right, before we actually manufacture a product, we have to go through all these different steps of testing, compatibility testing, bacteria testing, all these different types of testing to make sure that the product is ready to go to the customer, to go to our community, our champions. all of this stuff you just have to learn. So many other things we've had challenges with, but I was just some long way summing up that like, hey, this entire, if you're gonna do a business, if you're gonna jump into a lane, if you're gonna go after a dream, just be in a position with an open mind and ready to learn, because you're not gonna have it all figured out. Don't be a person that says, okay, I'm gonna go to MBA and then I'm gonna read 3 books and I'm gonna watch 5 podcasts and I'm gonna go watch this movie before I go start my business. No, like if you're gonna try to start a business or go after any type of dream or passion, just go. You're gonna bump your head, you're gonna scrape your knees, you're gonna fall, you're gonna hurt yourself. It's not gonna be fun all the time. You're gonna cry. You're gonna be asking like, yo, why me? Why is this happening to me? But you have to keep going. You have to go through that, because you're going to continuously get better and better and start to learn and build on top of that experience. And then you're able to build up something beautiful like what you're doing here, and the same thing in what we're doing with SOSS.
And I appreciate that answer, man, especially about all the struggles about e-commerce. Like, I don't think people see a product on a website and they're like, oh, okay, whatever, buy. But they don't have no idea the back end, supply chain, all that stuff. I mean, before I started the podcast, I was going to do some sort of like Amazon FBA, and then literally as soon as I saw that minimum order quantity, I was like, nah, I'm gonna find something better to do. Hell nah.
I'll tell you about Amazon real quick. Amazon, thankful, bittersweet, but they kind of messed up the e-commerce space, because now they've gotten the masses globally accustomed to a certain experience when they go e-commerce.
Right.
So because Amazon replaces your order if you send it back, or if you say that my package was lost, no questions asked.
All the time, no questions asked.
Now we'll get calls or we'll get emails of like, hey, I think my order was stolen off my porch. You're going to send me another one, right? I'm like, what they got to do with me?
Yeah.
Like, did you got your tracking information, right? You were seeing how it moved across. On my side, USPS says they dropped it off at your porch at this date at this time. It gets potentially stolen, and now they're like, "Hey, yeah, you got to send me another one."
Yeah, that's on you.
And it's just like, because Amazon does it, because all of these other bigger brands do it, it's like now it puts you in a bind, like to maintain that customer experience and that trust. It's like, all right, this time we'll do it. Okay, just this time we'll do it. We now added it to our FAQ page of like, yo, if your order's stolen, it's not happening. We can't constantly do that at this point right now. However, it's things like that. So it's bittersweet that they have done that, but it's also, I'm thankful for it, because it holds us to a higher standard. So now we literally, if we want to provide the most amazing white glove customer experience for our community, we have to mimic that of an Amazon. We have to mimic that of when you walk into, I'm not gonna get nobody free press, when you walk into a very reputable, expensive European designer store. That experience you get when they'll ask you if you want sparkling water, give you a glass of champagne, that type of experience, we have to emulate that. It forces us to be better.
Yeah. I mean, your presentation is pretty much what people are going to associate the value with. I mean, that's why I always make sure to have like nice studio. Shout out to my dad. I think he gave me the idea of having these mugs, because at first I just had water bottles, and he was just like, you might want to do something a little nicer. I was like, all right. So I went on Amazon. I know who was just talking about Amazon shitting on them, but yeah, I went on Amazon. I just bought these, and I was like, yeah, like, because presentation is everything. Because sometimes when I do go to pitch people, like some people that are like really up there, some of the first things that they ask me, they're like, all right, send me your page, and I want them to go to my page and be like, oh, this is some bullshit. I ain't even gonna get on with him. Right. But pretty much, I've only had like 2 people do that, but the 2 people that did, they came back and they said, okay, yeah, I'll hop on with you. So, you know what I mean?
Even that part about your dad providing you with insight or making a suggestion and you going with it, I think that's also a thing of going on this journey, having to humble myself to the umpteenth degree and just accept that, like, just listen. Just listen. Regardless if the person has... Now, don't do everything that somebody... I'm not going to do everything somebody recommends or suggests to me.
Yeah.
But what I am doing is, like, I listen. Like, if you've taken the time to reach out to me or to approach me or to give what I'm doing some thought, and you approach me like, hey, I've been thinking about what you're doing. Like, have you thought about doing it in this way or making this change or something? I'm going to listen, because, one, it's like, yo, I appreciate you for spending the time thinking about me. But number two, like who knows if the feedback that is available could actually help me get to that next level. I think sometimes business owners we get so like closed minded of like you're not
Man.
doing this, you don't know how it is. I'm like that too. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm like that where it's like you've never built a business from the ground up. You've never shipped out tens of thousands of products. You don't know how to do this. I'm not listening to you. I could approach it from that standpoint, and sometimes unfortunately I do. Yeah. Keep an open mind.
Definitely keep an open mind. Like, yeah, I'm trying to not be as closed-minded and be open to feedback. I think that has been something I've been trying to do over the years, something I haven't really, at least in my earlier parts of my 20s, I wasn't as open to feedback. But now I'm trying to take some things to heart and taking the time to reflect on certain things. That was probably the biggest lesson I learned in 2023 is that I didn't take time to reflect. And what I mean by that is I have a journal, right?
Nice.
I have a journal that my man's told me to start in 2017. I ain't started till 2018. And I've written every single day in that journal since 2018. Well, 90% of the days. You know what I'm saying? So from that experience, on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, I always write like that's the big journal. I write what I did that day. I wrote highlights for the month. I write down my goals I had that year, why I didn't achieve my goals, and then the new goals for next year. And what I found is that some of my goals as priorities shifted or things shifted in the year, I didn't change my goals. So I made sure to change that for this year because going into 2024, I didn't think about this podcast idea until I think February, March. You know what I mean? So in December, it wasn't on there. So I made sure like to go back and change my goals. And so I always try to regularly reflect and analyze what I'm doing, what can I do better and stuff like that. And not just because I think as an entrepreneur, it's so easy to just put the blinders on and be like, oh, okay, I'm trying to get this next client. I'm just going to do this and get this next client. And it's like, okay, well, are you doing it? Is this the best way to get the client? Like how many outreach, like really like analyze what you're doing. So that's one thing that I've been trying to do.
I love that.
And so I was watching your Instagram story yesterday, and you said that this homecoming is going to be a thank you tour. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
You're good. You're good at what you do.
I'm telling you, I know you posted that yesterday, and I was
good.
like, you know what I'm saying?
You're good. And that was when I tell you, I don't do this a lot. I don't speak in front of people a lot. I don't know why. I got to do more of it. But I just turned the camera on in the car when I was leaving work, headed home to throw things in the luggage and get to the airport. And I was just like, started talking. And when I said it and I thought about everything that we had planned out, like I'm like, yo, this really is a thank you tour. Because everything I'm doing now wouldn't be possible without my experience at Howard, wouldn't be possible without the people I met at Howard, wouldn't be possible without the trials, the obstacles that I've had to overcome from Howard. And then even after those 4 years of Howard, a lot of the stuff I'm doing now also wouldn't be possible without those 3 years in D.C. Those 3 years, the 1 year in Alexandria, Virginia, and then the 1 year in Silver Springs, and then the next year in Deanwood. Like really getting to literally living each year in Virginia, Maryland, D.C. Like that experience, the community I was actually building, like all of that everything I'm doing now, the man that's on this mic talking right now wouldn't be who he is if it wasn't from those collective 7 years of experience being boots on the ground here. So when I thought about coming back home, my whole thing was just like, it's also, shout out to the convicts, it's our 10 year. So yeah. I knew we were about to come and have a lot of fun. I knew our money, we were about to spend money with, to have fun. I know we're about to do that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it's Howard Homecoming. You already know what that comes with.
Centennial.
And it's the 100th Howard Homecoming.
Yes, sir.
Allegedly. I'm not doubting it. I'm just saying allegedly. But my whole thing was like, when I came back this time, I was like, bro, that city, that place has done so much for you. You're not just about to go for a weekend, drink a bunch, eat, party, and bounce out.
Yeah.
Like, nah. You need to go back and make sure that city and that school knows like how much you appreciate your experience and what they've done for you. So that's why the kickoff the thank you tour was the event yesterday where we went back and was like, okay, when I was a freshman, I remember I didn't find my barber till Man, probably second semester freshman year. I was in that room by myself trying to figure it out, like messing myself up crazy. So I just remembered that whole process. I was like, man, if I would have had somebody just give me a list of people that were barbers on campus that I could have tapped in with as a freshman, that would have been dope. If I would have had somebody that could have told me, like, yo, this is homecoming. This is why this is important. You're about to have thousands of people ascend on this little ass yard, and it's going to be nothing but love and good vibes and lit in a crazy lituation. Like, this is how you prepare for it. This is Howard. You from LA. White tees, basketball shorts, and Vans was quality fashion in LA. This is Howard. You ain't doing like this. Ain't how. This is not how you do it. That was what? Get you a white pro club with some basketball shorts and some crisp Vans. What in LA? Like back in them. That was it. I had some people had to tell me, like, I had to learn. Nobody told me. I had to learn at Howard. Like, wait a second. Like, what's what is that?
No,
Like, I had to learn about this.
I didn't know either. I had to
People
put my
had to
sister
put
on.
me on. So my whole thing about yesterday with the event with the freshmen was like, yo, I'm gonna come to DC earlier, and I just want to meet, like, provide y'all with free haircuts, get y'all right for homecoming week, introduce y'all to barbers when you need another cut. Now you know you got 5 different people now you've met that you can go speak with. Here, I'm gonna give you a grooming kit, so when you go back in your dorm, getting ready for homecoming week, let's make sure that you smelling right. Like, Axe is no longer okay. We can't do Axe anymore. I was still using Axe and Tag up through like my junior year. I know, right? Crazy. But it's like, at Howard. When I tell you, my whole thing was like, this is so super vulnerable, transparent. My whole thing was like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it's like, nobody ever said, bro, you stink. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to just keep using it. Nobody ever was like, bro, you need to get some new smell goods. Now that I'm older, I understand.
Oh, yeah.
Now, of course, the types of samples that we provided with the young brothers yesterday, unless they are entrepreneurs, they probably not going to be able to pull up to the mall and get a full bottle of that sample. Yeah. However, I just wanted to expose them to it, to get them thinking about it. So maybe they might not go buy the Sauvage. They may not go buy what's the other ones that we had? The Mudo. They may or may not go cop some Mudo, but they may just pay a little extra attention to, like, okay, how am I layering colognes, et cetera. So that was yesterday. Was like, yo, how do I give my thank you to Howard? Is I'm gonna take care of y'all freshmen. I'm gonna get the freshman men right for homecoming week to make sure they put in their best foot forward. My thank you to DC. Thank you to DC is what we're doing all next week. Okay. So me and one of my other line brothers, Desmond, shout out to him. We co-authored a children's book called I Am King. And the beautiful thing about this book is that it walks a young boy through his grooming routine in the morning, and not just, educating our young boys about hygiene and appropriate grooming to prepare themselves to go out into the world. But each step of the grooming routine focuses on the physical step as well as is paired with an affirmation. So that you're not just learning how to floss, but you're learning, I am blessed, I am clean, I am suave. I am me. I am king. Like, you're learning all these different affirmations. Again, it's not a catch-all. It's not gonna, completely, eliminate any obstacle to come. However, how can we just introduce somebody to learning how to love themselves, vocalizing their love and affirmation for themselves at a younger age? What could that have done if I knew about affirmations as a little boy? Could that have stopped some of the bumps in the road that I had to go through? I don't know. I don't have that answer. So I'll try it. Let's see. Let's just see if we put this out there in the world. Let's see if it helps. So next week, we're going to different elementary schools in the DC public school system, meeting with reading to the different kids, taking the book, reading to fourth graders, fifth graders, all grade levels, meeting with administrators, just as like hey, while I'm here, I want to give the city my time too, and not just bounce around from bar to bar, restaurant to restaurant, going up. I want to do some work. So that's why I called it a thank you tour, because this is just like thank you, Howard, for helping me for helping introduce me to the man I am today. And thank you, DC, for providing me with an area, a space to bump my head and learn and to grow and mature. So that's why I was like, yo, this time, that's the whole premise of this trip, is thank you.
Yeah, it's very noble, man. And that ties back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of impact, leaving that impact. And I see you. I see
100%. I mean, you just think about all the people that invested time in us at Howard. Like, a lot of people always talk about, they reflect on experiences at Howard, and also granted, I probably had a very unique experience at Howard. I know everyone didn't have my experience.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna focus on my experience, and I know, yes, it wasn't dandelions 24/7. Yeah, it was some BS at times, 100%. It's a
Howard.
university.
Yeah.
It's Howard. It's gonna
Facts.
happen.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna give energy and time and focus on that. Like I'm thinking about, okay, yes, I had this experience, but how can I make sure the next person doesn't? What can I do to potentially help make sure the next person has a even better experience? How do I'm still appreciative. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Howard.
Oh,
right?
yeah, 100%.
Like,
That's
we
how
wouldn't
we
be on the
met.
mic right now. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for my line brothers. I'm thankful for my frat brothers. I'm thankful for the homegirls and homies and my brothers and sisters that I've been able to connect with. My professors that put their arm around me was like, no, we're going to get you right. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm thankful for that aspect of Howard. That's what I'm going to focus on. I ain't going to think about the chalkboards that we still have. I'm going to think about that. And that's why I have to say thank you.
Absolutely. What was your favorite Howard memory, man?
Favorite Howard memory? It's two events into one. And it may not be I may call you later today like, wait, actually, it's my actual favorite memory. But the thing that just reached my mind, freshman year 2012, fall 2012, November 2012, President Barack Obama was up for re-election for his second term. Mm-hmm. They had especially with all the political stuff happening right now, they had a watch party in Blackburn.
They still do that.
We was in Blackburn, DJ lit, watching the poll numbers fluctuate.
Yeah.
I remember when it was final, and it's his second term. It was his second term. I remember when the polls showed final that he had won, the eruption at Blackburn. Like this is first semester freshman year. Mm-hmm. I was just like, I went to a predominantly white high school. So it was just seeing all these black people around me going crazy at the first black president getting reelected. It still gives me chills. Like I remembered that feeling and that excitement and like just the love. And then I also remember, I don't know who was the smart person to say this, but if somebody was like, F it, let's walk to the White House. And then all of us, cause we probably a little lit, we said, yeah, let's go. Bro, we walking.
Yo,
I didn't realize how far the White House was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, that's not a close walk.
We in the middle of the street walking, police car. About halfway through, I turned to the hubby. I said, we could just turn around and go back. It's a little cold. My feet hurt. The drinks wearing off. But they're like, no, we gotta go. We get to the White House, and then if somebody comes, they're like, you know he not here, right? It's like, wow, so we did all of this just for nothing. Great.
Like y'all was going to get in anyway.
I'll say it wasn't for nothing because this is the second moment in that same memory.
Yeah.
When we graduated 2016, President Barack Obama spoke at our commencement.
Wow.
He opened his speech with, I felt it was only right I came to send y'all off because 4 years ago, y'all walked to my house after I was reelected.
Wow, now he remembered?
Even though he wasn't there, the fact that he acknowledged that, like, yo, I see y'all, to have that whole experience was just like, have the first black president of the United States speak to the crowd. Honestly, in that moment, I thought he was talking directly to me. Yeah. And it was just like, yo, I see you, I respect you, I thank you, I appreciate you. That was like, bro, you would not get that experience anywhere else. Like, that is a Howard University tailored, unique package experience that you have to go through the chalkboards. You have to go through the A building. Facts. You have to go through the no AC and Drew in the middle of the summer. You have to go through all of that, all of the bullshit, all of the obstacles to get that experience. So I would do that same thing all over again to get that experience, to have that moment.
Facts.
So,
you know, it's crazy. Yeah. Me and you went to Howard exactly 4 years apart.
Facts.
So I had that Blackburn event. I went my freshman year.
It was a different outcome.
But that was in 2016.
It's a little different outcome.
We all know who won, so it wasn't
as lit.
Nah, bro. It was not as lit. It was complete opposite. You would have thought somebody died, bro. Like, people was crying. It was crazy. But, man, before we close out, what do you want to leave the people with today from this episode?
3 things we both learned.
Okay.
Shout out to bros. Shout out to Gentlemen of Juice Social Club.
Absolutely.
Choices, chances, consequences. In life, every day, every second, you have to make a choice. Whether that choice is what you're going to eat, whether that choice is whether you're going to decide to go for that business, whether you're going to decide to keep the business going. Like, you have to make choices every single day. When you presented with a choice, you got to take a chance. You have to make a decision on that choice. You got to choose an answer. You got to take a chance and go with it. Based on that chance, it's going to be a consequences. Some consequences are good. Some consequences are not so good.
Mm-hmm.
But after you take that choice, after you're presented with that choice, you take that chance and you endure that consequence, whatever the outcome is, make sure you learn, reflect, and reapply. Reapply, because now you get another opportunity at the same choice, at the same chance, at the same consequence. And the reason why I'm focused on that right now is just thinking about, the two of us sitting here, even my guy Davion behind the camera, that he don't want to be in front of the camera, but I'm talking about anyways. Like, we all had a choice to go on our specific business paths or not. We had a choice to show up every day or not. We had a choice to throw in the towel and be like, I don't have enough followers, I'm not getting enough traffic, like, I'm done. But we took a chance, and every day we continue to take that chance. Some days the consequences is positive, and we, great interviews, great conversations, meet great people.
Yeah.
Some days the consequences is you walk home and answer all in your product, or you pull up and you have to discard 500 units of product because it didn't meet your quality guidelines. It's all about just taking a chance, taking that first step, and taking that first step towards what it is that you know that you've been anointed and gifted to do. And I just want more people, I want everyone to just start taking that first step, take that chance at being your greatest self, at being the best that you can be, whatever that looks like for you. Just take that chance, try it out. I promise you, you'll be very happy with what's on the other side.
That was a great closing remark, honestly. One of the best so far, bro. I've done, I think this might be the 30th one. That was great.
It's the 30th one?
Something like that.
That would be super dope.
30? Yeah, I think it's 30th. It's not, yeah, I think it is. I was just looking at my my ClickUp where I manage all this stuff, but yeah, I think this is the 30th one. So yeah, I know that's a solid number for you.
Oh man,
you know what I'm saying?
That's just you saw. I immediately smiled. I was like, wow, this is meant to be. Okay.
Absolutely. But Vernon, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I greatly appreciate it. Where can the people find you at?
Definitely. You can find me on Instagram, v.g.yancy, Yancy. You can find SOSS on Instagram at SOSSD.co. Again, that's SOSSD.co. And that's the same for the URL. And you can also find I Am King. You can order that on Amazon or directly from our website, lppublishing.co. So lppublishing.co. And I just thank you for having this space, setting up this space, having this conversation, inviting me to converse with you in this format, and just everything that you're doing was telling our stories and making sure you're continuing to inject more game into our community, and into the culture overall. Really thank you.
Anytime, man. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to speak with me, also getting some of your line brothers to come onto the show. I greatly appreciate y'all taking the time to meet with me. I really do.
100%.
Thank you so much. So as a Beyond Ordinary podcast, hope you guys were inspired to be great. Till next time. Peace.
Peace.